I got a comment left in one of my videos the other day asking me to share my top 10 favorite Baroque cello pieces. I thought this was a great opportunity to make a little video talking about some of my favorite pieces, especially because I like finding unpopular and lesser known works for the cello. A great place to start is Vivaldi. Vivaldi is a great string composer and really epitomizes the 18th century Italian style. He's most known for pieces like the Four Seasons, but he wrote 6 cello sonatas that are really popular as well. These sonatas, written for solo cello and continuo, all follow the form of a slow movement, fast movement, another slow movement, another fast movement. So you can really pick and choose from these sonatas and really understand what you're working with from the beginning. My personal favorite is number 5 in E minor. It's one of the most popular and not without reason. The harmonies are lush and evocative, the writing is active and exciting in the fast movements, and it's just a great piece to explore cello technique. Staying in the thread of Italian composers, we also have Geminiani. Geminiani was not as popular as Vivaldi, and his writing is a little bit less conventional, but that also makes it more exciting. He wrote a set of cello sonatas, all of which are worth exploring, but my favorite is number 6 in A minor. Moving into French territory, we have Barrière. Barrière was a really interesting guy because he was a French composer, but he studied a lot in Italy to learn about the cello. Before the cello, the viola da gamba was really the most popular bass instrument of its time, and French composers were writing lots of music for viola da gamba. Barrière, who started as a viola da gamba player, wanted to see if the cello could do the same kinds of things that the gamba was doing. So he studied in Italy a bit and composed a whole bunch of cello sonatas in response to what he learned in Italy. There are 4 books of these sonatas, all for solo cello with continuo. And I encourage everybody to check these out. Some of them are playable and fun, some of them are outrageously difficult, but all of it is really great music. My personal favorite is the first sonata from Book 1 in B minor. It has a great opening with a slow movement with tons of double stops and really incredible harmonies, and despite how many times I hear this piece, I really never get tired of it. All the pieces I've mentioned so far are from the 18th century, but if we look at the 17th century, we have a nice selection of cello pieces as well. I think the best starting place for 17th century music for cello are the Ricercares by Gabrieli. These are unaccompanied pieces, and you really get an idea of the baseline role that the cello played in the 17th century. They're great pieces for exploring Baroque cello technique, but also for continuo playing because they're so similar to bass lines. My personal favorite is the first Ricercar, which is the shortest and possibly the most simple, but to me just a fundamental representation of a bass line. Moving into bigger territory, we can look to concertos, which have the cello as a solo instrument and an orchestra backing them up. My favorite Baroque cello concerto is by C.P.E. Bach, one of Bach's sons, who was known for being sort of quirky and wild with his writing. His cello concerto in A minor is my favorite, though he did write 3 of these cello concertos, all of which are fantastic. A piece that you won't find many of is a French piece by Corrette called Le Phénix, or The Phoenix. The Phoenix is a really cool piece because it's written for 4 cellos with no continuo, no other instruments, just 4 cellos. It's a great piece to play with friends and play casually because it's not tremendously demanding, but it has really, really lovely French melodies and nice options for ornamentation as well. We can't really talk about cello music without mentioning Bach. Bach, of course, wrote the big 6 cello suites for unaccompanied cello, and these are sort of like the fundamentals of Baroque cello music to most people. Though there was a lot of music written before these pieces, we can't discount the Bach cello suites. My personal favorite is the 4th in E flat because you don't hear it played very often, and I find a lot of the melodies and the writing to be more reflective and introverted than some of the other suites. I also really like how the key of E flat sort of softens the sound of the cello and gives a more personal sound because so much of the resonance is cut from playing in a key with so many flats. Dalla Bacco wrote a set of capricci for unaccompanied cello, and it's one of the few other unaccompanied cello pieces from the 18th century that we have. I enjoy all these capricci, but my favorite is number 3. The Dalla Bacco capricci are not as complex as Bach's suites for solo cello, but they're charming and sweet, slightly more playable, and have really lovely, almost infectious melodies. The last two pieces I want to mention are from the early 17th century and are not really specifically intended for Baroque cello. That being said, they're for bass instruments and aren't specified, so they can be played on Baroque cello, and I personally played them on Baroque cello myself. The first is a repertoire by Ortiz. Ortiz was a 17th century Spanish composer who is usually known for his treatises on ornamentation. But he wrote a number of these pieces, some with continuo and some unaccompanied, of these bass divisions or repertoires. Last is a very unknown composer, Selma y Salaverde, another Spanish early 17th century, late 16th century might be even, composer. He wrote a division or ornamented piece based on the Susanna madrigal from the Renaissance, and taking a bass instrument and basically writing improvisations and ornaments over this madrigal. It's typically accompanied by something like a harpsichord on continuo and a solo bass instrument like a viola da gamba or perhaps a Baroque cello. I hope you guys get the chance to check out some of these pieces. I'm going to leave my recommended recordings for each of them and the full details on every piece in the description of the video. Hope this gives you something to start with if you're looking to listen to more Baroque cello music. Let me know some of your favorite Baroque cello pieces, and as always, if you have questions or ideas for other videos, you can always leave them in the comments.